Right, so 2-5 Coconut Creek. What's the buy-in?
1,000,
Okay, 1,000. Okay.
200 big blinds.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So the villain opened from under the gun, $20. We are +1, so we raise with pocket aces, ace of clubs, ace of diamonds.
Okay.
We raise to 70, and the action folds around, and he calls.
All right. So heads up UTG plus versus UTG1, right?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
So the flop came out 7 deuce with two clubs, 7 of clubs, 2 of clubs, and 7 of hearts.
Okay.
So I decided to check here. He checked. I decided to check back here. I usually don't slow play this in spots like this.
Let me just make sure
Do
that I have
something.
this correctly, just because I was struggling here. 7-7 deuce with two clubs, and you've got aces with the ace of clubs. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Okay. So you decide to check it back. That I remember from the old when I used to host top section is that it's actually one of the better hands if you're ever going to do some slow playing because your hand doesn't need protection. You have the club, so you can easily call across club turns and things like that. But usually I just go for value. I mean, I gotta
Yeah,
say it
most of the
straight up.
time I do as well. I usually never do this, but
Yeah.
at this
Okay.
at this. So yeah, so the turn came out the king of clubs,
Okay. So to get the club.
and
Okay.
he checks again, and we bet 115.
115.
125 actually,
Oh,
125.
125. Okay. Hero bets
Yeah.
125. Wow. Okay. So you check back. Well, I guess it makes sense though, because it's a king. So you could have, it's not like you're checking back and then all of a sudden you're betting 125 like on a 3. You know what I mean, or something like that. So you go 125. Okay.
Yeah, I think I can get called by like queens with the queen of clubs, jacks, tens, and ace king, king queen, and so he just calls.
Okay. So UTG calls.
So we go to the river with 390 on the pot, and the river is the 8 of clubs, so it's the 4th club, and we ended up improving to the nut
So let me
flush,
just
but
do a quick recap here. So under the gun to 20, you guys are 1,000. You said you're 1,000 effective. I know the buy-in was
yeah, it's
1,000.
960, 970, something
Okay.
like that.
So right under 1,000 effective, under the gun to 20, hero from under the gun 1, 3 bets to 70, under the gun calls. And we've had that little backstory that he might be a little bit wild or maybe doesn't necessarily have the largest grasp of hand strength or something like that. The pot's 150. The flop comes out 7 of hearts, 7 of clubs, deuce of clubs. And you decide to check it back. Goes check, check. You've got aces with the ace of clubs. The turns, the king of clubs. Under the gun checks. Now you bet 125. Under the gun calls. The pot's 390 after the rake. And now the river's the 8 of clubs. So there's 4 clubs out there. Of course, the board is paired, and you've got aces with the ace of clubs. Okay.
So yeah, so here I think I decided to bet
So he checks to you,
235.
right? He
Yeah,
checks
he
to you?
checks to me
Okay.
again for the
Uh-huh.
third time. I decided to bet 235. I think I should have bet a little bit smaller to get called by, all the clubs, and
So you bet 235. So hero bets 235. I don't know if you take a sizing all the way up to maybe even like 350, 325, I don't see any club folding here. Because I think maybe there's, I mean, it's interesting because maybe you're supposed to do a lot of like c betting with like the ace of clubs on the flop, like ace queen with the ace of clubs or something like that. But I don't know if any club calls the turn. If he has a club in his hand when he check calls turn, I just don't. I think that you get the same calling range if you go up to say like maybe 300 on the river. You know what I'm saying?
makes
Do
sense.
you think he's going to fold out a club for 300 versus 235?
Yeah, no, not really.
I mean, that's just my thought. So you bet 235, okay. Mm-hmm.
So he thinks for a while, and then he decided to shove for 725 total.
725 total, so only like 500 more.
Yeah, 495 more.
So he shoves for, I'm just gonna say 500 more just because it's gonna make it really easy for me. So 235. So is it 470? Is it 860? So it's like 1360, 500 for you to call. Was that about right? Are we in there?
Yeah, I have to call 495 to win a pot of total 1850. Yeah, so I need
Well,
like be right. I need to win this hand like 27% of the time
again, it's one of
by my
these. Yeah,
calculation.
it's one of these situations where this one isn't quite as egregious as one of our first callers of the day, where I'm like, what, because here the guy could have some bluffs because the board is paired. You know what I mean? So really, what he's representing here is obviously that he's got some sort of boat. He could have kings full, he could have eights full, he could have deuces full. Although it's questionable whether or not eights is going to call the turn here without a club. All I can tell you is this is an underbluff spot, but it just seems to me that you told me that little backstory here for a reason, and it might have sort of lent into what you did here at the end.
Yeah, after like 3 or 4 minutes, in my opinion, the only hand that would make sense for him to have here was pocket kings, but I was thinking maybe he would turn like ace king or king queen into a bluff, like trying to blocking the top full house. And
I guess once in a while, if he doesn't think that he can win because of the four clubs, but this isn't really. It's not Omaha. I told them so. Um, yeah, I mean, all I can tell you, like I said, is it's an underbluff spot. But you told me the guy's a maniac. So if I was getting a price, sure, maybe I would call. It just seems like there's a lot of outliers in some of these hands. People have been calling in here recently. You know what I mean? What did you end up doing?
yeah, I ended up calling, and he had two red kings.
I wouldn't be too hard on yourself, Raphael.
Yeah,
I really wouldn't. But I appreciate the call. Yeah, don't, like I said, I think it's probably pretty close to indifferent. It can't be that big of a mistake. So thank you very much for the call. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel, and check out the coupon code in the description to try out the Crush Live Poker training site for free.